The story begins during an intense football match, part of the prestigious FA Cup tournament. A weaker team was challenging a much stronger opponent, displaying the high skills of professional players. All the attention turned toward a legend nicknamed the Giant Slayer, who had gained fame for achieving the impossible. As this match unfolded, the focus shifted to Japan, where a group of protesters stood outside a football club. Nearby, some boys were playing football, and their ball accidentally rolled toward a passerby. The man noticed these boys were from the East Tokyo United Academy and sat with them to learn about their team. The boys explained the team's struggles. ETU had a poor performance record, and the constant change of coaches only made things worse. Hearing this, the man shared his ambition to transform ETU into a strong, competitive team. Meanwhile, the club management was in turmoil. Heated debates raged over how to handle the team's ongoing problems. Gato, one of the leaders, calmed the room and suggested a solution. The club needed one person, someone who could turn things around. That man was Tatsumi, their former coach. Just then, Tatsumi made a surprise appearance. However, not everyone was happy about his return. Nagata, the vice president, was furious, accusing Tatsumi of betrayal for leaving the club a decade ago. Despite the hostility, it was decided that Tatsumi would officially resume his role as head coach. Many had high hopes, trusting him to restore ETU's lost glory. Tatsumi recalled witnessing a heartbreaking match years ago, where players on one side celebrated in victory while the other side wept in defeat. After leaving ETU 10 years ago, he had gone to England, built a team from scratch, and led them to win the FA Cup. Now, he had returned, determined to repeat that success with ETU. That evening, a boy named Kauta discovered something astonishing. The player his father admired most turned out to be Coach Tatsumi himself. Overcome with excitement, he ran out to tell his friends. While the fans were divided, Tatsumi worked tirelessly. He spent the entire night analyzing match recordings, preparing a strategy to improve the team's performance. The next day brought chaos. Many supporters were protesting Tatsumi's return. They blamed him for abandoning the team after it was sold to foreign owners, which led to its decline. Fortunately, Murakoshi, a senior player who kept the team together after Tatsumi's departure, took a strong stance during the commotion. Tatsumi, now ready for action, handed a training plan to his assistant Yuri. She quickly shared it with the players. It involved recording how fast each player could run a 30-meter sprint before Tatsumi arrived at the field. Most players dismissed the task as pointless, especially Murakoshi, who held a grudge against Tatsumi. However, the plan moved forward, and the players began running while Matsubara recorded their times. A rookie named Tsubaki surprised everyone by sprinting like a cheetah, leaving the more experienced Murakoshi behind. This event marked a turning point. When Tatsumi finally arrived, he introduced himself as Tatsumi Takeshi, 35 years old, their coach. Without wasting time, Tatsumi reviewed the sprint statistics and shocked the team by splitting them into two groups: veterans and newer players. He announced that the younger, inexperienced players would form the main team. Naturally, this decision sparked outrage among the senior players. Anticipating resistance, Tatsumi presented a challenge. The groups would face off in a quick match. He gave them 15 minutes to strategize and said he would lead the younger group. If the seniors won, he promised to reconsider his plan. Confident and determined, Tatsumi took the first step in what would be a long journey to rebuild the East Tokyo United Club. Tatsumi started motivating his players, preparing them for the challenge ahead. On the field, Tsubaki was assigned to closely monitor Murakoshi, one of the senior players. When Murakoshi received the ball, Tsubaki tried to intercept it but failed and ended up falling. Instead of giving up, Tsubaki got back on his feet, determined to give his best and rise to the challenge. As the game progressed, the younger players dominated. Their coordination was impressive, and they managed to pass the ball efficiently until it reached Tsubaki. Under pressure from Murakoshi to pass, Tsubaki hesitated. They relied heavily on their speed but seemed hesitant to reveal their real potential. Murakoshi began to feel frustrated. Tatsumi's strategy, known as the one-touch style, was starting to take shape. The first 30 minutes of the game passed, and Murakoshi's team began to crumble. Exhausted from chasing the ball, it became clear that Tatsumi's younger players had the upper hand. Tatsumi had deliberately chosen his team based on their stamina and ability to maintain performance even when tired. He analyzed the sprint results, selecting those who showed little difference between their first and last runs, ensuring they could keep up their pace during the game. Murakoshi, now exhausted, faced an undeniable truth. His team could not compete with the energy and speed of Tatsumi's players. It was more than just a match, it became a clash of ideals. Despite his best efforts, Murakoshi failed to stop Tsubaki, who skillfully surpassed him. Tsubaki advanced into the penalty area, delivering an incredible pass. This move solidified the younger team's dominance. When the referee blew the final whistle, Tatsumi's unique coaching style was on full display. However, the match left many questions. At a press conference after the game, Tatsumi announced that Murakoshi would no longer serve as team captain. This decision shocked everyone, especially Murakoshi, who had been a key figure in the team for 10 years. Murakoshi accused Tatsumi of abandoning the team in its darkest days a decade ago, saying Tatsumi left them, but he stayed to fight. Tatsumi replied calmly, explaining that sometimes leadership must change hands for the greater good. He reassured Murakoshi that this decision was not meant as a punishment but as a way to lighten the burden he had carried for years. To move forward, Tatsumi placed younger players in the main positions while assigning the slower senior players to the bench. This controversial decision caused tension, as many blamed Tatsumi for the team's struggles years ago. Despite the criticism, Tatsumi firmly believed his actions would rebuild the team and lead them to success. The team later traveled to a training camp. The freezing weather was harsh and unsuitable for outdoor practice. Players like Kuroda and Tsuji were annoyed by the coach's decisions and voiced their frustrations. Tatsumi called a meeting to explain the new training plan. To everyone's surprise, he announced that they would be responsible for their own progress. This approach reminded the players of their school days, where they had to rely on their own discipline and motivation. Tatsumi's method aimed to push them to think like professionals, taking responsibility for their growth. Meanwhile, Tatsumi left them with a heavy training ball, jokingly calling it a cannonball, and left the field. As for Murakoshi, Tatsumi enforced a strict rule. He was no longer allowed to give instructions to his teammates. Without his role as captain, Murakoshi struggled to adjust. For years, he had been the leader and the glue holding the team together. Now, Tatsumi wanted him to step back and let others take the lead. Though frustrated, Murakoshi realized this might be a chance to reflect on his own growth and redefine his role within the team. The atmosphere grew tense as the players divided into smaller groups for training. Tatsumi stood on the sidelines, silently observing. He wanted to see if the team members could communicate effectively with each other. However, trouble quickly arose when Kuroda insisted everyone follow his lead and stick to Akasaki's training plan. Frustrated, some players retorted, "He is not in charge. This is how they've always trained." Kuroda argued back, pointing out that their usual methods hadn't brought them any victories. The argument escalated, but before things got worse, Murakoshi stepped in to break up the fight. Interestingly, Tatsumi seemed satisfied as he watched the growing tension among the team. It seemed like he was waiting for the right moment to intervene. Without a word, Tatsumi walked onto the field and collected all the balls except one. He used this single ball to share with all the players, redirecting their focus back to teamwork. Akasaki, still annoyed, confidently suggested replaying their previous match to settle the argument about which approach was better. Just as the situation was about to spiral out of control, a new figure entered the scene, silencing everyone immediately. It was Luigi, an Italian player who referred to himself as the Prince. Known for his arrogance, Luigi only trained when he felt like it, but his commanding presence managed to halt the brewing conflict. His dominance over the team was evident. That evening, Gadu held a meeting with the players to prepare them for their opening match. Their first opponent would be none other than the reigning champions of the league. This news raised the stakes and the pressure on ETU. The next morning, Luigi showed up on the training field, marking a rare appearance among his teammates. Tatsumi approached him directly and called him by his actual name, Luigi. The prince objected to this, saying he preferred being addressed as the prince. Tatsumi responded calmly, saying he'll call him that after he has earned it. Prove his worth first. He also warned Luigi that if he didn't meet expectations, Tatsumi wouldn't hesitate to take away his prestigious number 10 jersey. With no other choice, Luigi accepted the challenge. Tatsumi decided to test Luigi's abilities by having him lead two teammates, turning them into his support system during practice. He don't mean literally, Tatsumi explained, but they'll follow his moves and pass to him at every opportunity. The chosen players included Tsubaki and Kuroda. Luigi's plan was straightforward. Tsubaki would run and act as a target, while Akasaki observed and monitored how well the strategy worked. Luigi, the centerpiece of this formation, was tasked with directing plays and leading attacks. In one impressive moment, Luigi controlled the ball flawlessly, effortlessly maneuvering past Murakoshi. His exceptional skills were on full display when he executed a stunning shot that landed straight into the goal. Everyone on the field was left speechless as Luigi proved why he demanded to be called the Prince. Finally, the highly anticipated day of the opening match arrived. ETU was set to face Tokyo Victory, the league champions for 2 years in a row. The atmosphere was electric, with fans roaring in the stands. However, not everyone on the team felt confident. Tatsumi's unconventional methods had raised doubts, and the players wondered if they were truly prepared for this formidable opponent. As the team lined up for the match, some players questioned Tatsumi's approach, accusing him of messing with them. But Tatsumi simply smiled, replying he enjoyed the challenge of aiming for something bigger than expected. Stick to the plan, and he'll make sure they secure at least a draw. He added that if everything went as planned, Luigi would earn the position of captain. On the opposing side, Tokyo Victory's coach Hiraizumi welcomed Tatsumi back to the league, though it was clear the battle ahead would be fierce. Tsubaki, still relatively inexperienced, appeared anxious, adding to the team's concerns. Nevertheless, Tatsumi remained calm and focused, ready to lead ETU in their journey to prove themselves against the champions. As the game began, all eyes turned to the prince, the biggest danger on the field. Machida, an international player, successfully delivered a long pass inside, but Kuroda managed to intercept it just in time. The team had to quickly recover and focus. Tatsumi's strategy centered on channeling every pass to the prince, Luigi, who was proving difficult for the opponents to handle. Luigi easily broke through their tight defense and kept the ball in play. Pretending to move one way, he tricked the defenders and sent the ball to the right wing before passing it back. The ball went to Tsubaki, whose incredible speed left the defenders scrambling. As he dashed toward the penalty area, it seemed like he was about to shoot, but instead, he passed it to Akasaki. Akasaki struck the ball hard, but it didn't result in a goal. Despite that, the teamwork was impressive, and their coordination stunned the opponents. Tsubaki was known for his speed and the ability to read the game. However, he was struggling with his confidence after an earlier incident, feeling he had disappointed those who believed in him. Tatsumi noticed his despair and gave him a pep talk, urging him to unleash his potential and play without fear. Encouraged, Tsubaki pushed forward. Machida tried to bring him down but failed as Tsubaki pressed on, skillfully navigating the defense. As the game progressed, the ball found its way back to Luigi. He delivered a sharp and precise shot, securing a goal that shook the opponents. Recognizing Luigi as the key player, the rival coach quickly adjusted tactics to counter Tatsumi's strategy. The match resumed with more intensity. Tsubaki faced rough challenges from the opponents, and Machida's foul earned him a yellow card. A free kick was awarded, taken by Machida, and although they tried to defend it, they couldn't stop the ball from finding the net. The game was now tied at 1-1, and the tension on the field continued to grow. The team focused on staying calm until Tatsumi made his move in the second half. He shifted a defender into the midfield, adopting a 3-6-1 formation to gain control of the midfield. As long as determination shines on their faces, they can still win, Tatsumi believed. He encouraged Tsubaki to play fearlessly, making the crowd feel his presence. The game continued with a bold challenge against Machida. The ball moved aggressively across ETU's field, heading toward their goal in a risky attack. Luckily, it was intercepted, triggering a counterattack from the left wing. With speed and skill, the players pushed forward, creating an excellent defensive play. Yet, the score remained 0-0 as the clock ticked down. 15 minutes were left, and the coach relied on the team's willpower to secure victory. The opponents were relentless, refusing to back down. Meanwhile, the prince appeared tired and wasn't contributing much on defense. Tsubaki intervened to stop an attack and barely cleared the ball, which hit the crossbar and went out. With just 10 minutes remaining and the score still tied, the pressure was intense. The opposing team pressed harder, determined to find the back of the net. Machida made another move, and Hiroshi rushed to block him. Despite his efforts, the defense faltered, and they conceded a second goal. Now trailing with only 5 minutes left, the team felt deflated. Tatsumi noticed the lack of energy and focus in his players. It seemed like they had given up. The opponents used their lead to control possession and run down the clock. But Murakoshi refused to let his team's hard work go to waste. He gave it his all, determined not to disappoint his teammates. As Tatsumi held the ball in his hands, he assessed the situation, refusing to accept defeat. With perfect coordination, the team displayed breathtaking passing and chemistry, captivating the fans. A sharp 1-2 play led to a crucial breakthrough. Near the edge of the box, Murakoshi struck the ball with precision, delivering an equalizing goal in the final moments. That goal marked a turning point. Tatsumi handed Murakoshi the captain's armband, urging him to lead by example. Follow his orders and pass them to the team, Tatsumi warned, leaving no room for disobedience. It was a moment to remember, a rallying cry to push forward with everything they had. The club was later invited to a special league press conference. Tatsumi eventually arrived after much convincing, But tensions arose quickly. One of the invitees was Fuwa, a former coach of the club. He was responsible for the team's relegation to the second division and is now the coach of Nagoya. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, attention shifted to the club's owner, Tatsumi, who greeted Osaka's coach. Instantly, Tatsumi realized he was speaking to a talented coach. As always, Tatsumi balanced humor and seriousness in his speech to the other coaches. He confidently declared they'll all be under heavy pressure to beat them. He even made a bold statement, promising new standards of play and vowing to defeat anyone who claimed to be a professional. His words left the other coaches fully aware of the threat his team posed. After the meeting, a French coach approached Tatsumi, pointing out they had both coached in England. He invited Tatsumi to join him for fish and chips, and they set off together. However, the Frenchman got lost in the city. Tatsumi, known for dodging tricky situations, simply bought some food and found a local running game to watch. Curious, Tatsumi asked the Frenchman who he thought would win. The Frenchman pointed to the blue team, explaining that despite being behind in the score, they had stronger determination and a shared vision. Not long after, Yuri found Tatsumi, realizing the man with him wasn't just anyone, it was Blanc, the national team coach. The blue team eventually won, and Blanc wished Tatsumi success with his team. Unaware of Tatsumi's real identity, Yuri teased Tatsumi about his antics, but Tatsumi brushed it off and locked himself in his room. The next day was critical. Journalist Fujisawa decided to follow ETU this season, and the atmosphere was charged as the team entered the pitch. The fans revealed a massive new banner in support of Tatsumi and the players. Their opponent that day was IoT. Tatsumi shook hands with their coach, his face showing a hint of unease. The match began with intense energy, much more aggressive than usual. Both sides frequently attacked the penalty areas, trying to claim the first goal and crush the other's morale. Amid the back and forth action, desperate attempts to clear the ball led to a mishap. Hirota assumed the ball was harmless, but it slipped through, landing with Hiroshi as an unintentional goal. The first goal turned out to be just the beginning, leading to a total of 4 goals against them. Their defense crumbled, and the team couldn't recover. What started as a minor mistake spiraled into fear and hesitation, completely disrupting their formation. The match ended disastrously, leaving fans and even journalist Fujisawa deeply disappointed. Many felt betrayed by the team's poor performance, especially after trusting Tatsumi's bold promises. Despite the loss, some still urged patience, but tensions ran high within the team. Hirota, frustrated by the situation, began blaming others, especially Akasaki, for their failures. Tatsumi observed everything silently, then asked Garu with a calm smile, how many more losses until he get fired? It was clear he had a plan in mind. Heading into the third match, Tatsumi made a surprising decision. He benched both Hirota and Tsuji, citing issues from their recent training. Flashback to that session, Tatsumi had organized a football-tennis game, where players formed pairs to compete for a reward. Hirota, however, was unimpressed, calling it a waste of time. But Murakoshi stepped in, urging everyone to join the game, and most players paired up. Hirota and Tsuji, however, refused to participate. That decision cost them a starting spot in the next match. Now back to the present, the team scored their first goal of the season. Unfortunately, the match still ended in another defeat with a 2-1 loss. This marked their third consecutive failure, leaving fans and players at their breaking point. Hirota, frustrated, considered leaving the team altogether. Meanwhile, Tsuji sought advice from Hiroshi about their struggling form. Tatsumi's coaching methods continued to puzzle and surprise. He told Hirota to try seeing things from others' perspectives before making accusations or rash decisions. While this approach seemed odd to some, Tatsumi didn't deny the need for improvement. Instead, he decided to repeat the same football-tennis training from before. Angered, Hirota walked out immediately, refusing to take part again. Things became chaotic as Kuroda's frustration grew. He deeply cared about the team's success and couldn't handle the string of defeats. After consulting Hiroshi, Kuroda listened closely to his analysis. Hiroshi asked him to reflect on the matches, saying, what did he notice about the games when he and Tsuji didn't play versus when they both were in the lineup? Time seems frozen. It's like others look for ways to surpass him. These words left Kuroda thoughtful as they prepared to watch the fourth match. During the game, it became clear the problem lay in their defensive line. The current formation was too advanced, leaving Hiroshi under heavy pressure. The midfield was overcrowded, allowing the opponents to make short, precise passes. This strategy created more gaps and doubled the danger to their defense. Luigi tried to set up Tsubaki with a pass, but Tsubaki failed to break through the defense. Tsubaki seemed weighed down by guilt, feeling responsible for the first goal they conceded. He needed to find his confidence on the pitch, just as the team needed to fix their defensive issues. Tatsumi believed their real enemy wasn't the opposition, it was their own doubts and mistakes. Without solving these problems, their season could be over. As they discussed ways to improve, another error by the defense resulted in a penalty kick for the opposing team. Hiroshi stepped up, determined to save it. Although he initially cleared the shot from Tsubaki, the ball remained in play and eventually found its way into the net. Despite the setback, Hiroshi's energy was unwavering. He used his enthusiasm to motivate his teammates, promising that Kuroda's return would help them rebuild. However, with this loss, their total had climbed to 4 since the season began. Tatsumi emphasized that football starts with a strong defense and urged Kuroda and Tsuji to anchor the team. In the 5th match, now in the second half, the pressure was mounting. A long ball threatened their goal, but Kuroda advanced and successfully blocked it. His defensive skills had visibly improved, reflecting the team's renewed energy. The match was tied, and the opponent looked for a chance to break the deadlock. A corner kick was launched dangerously close to the goal, yet the defense froze again, failing to clear it. Unfortunately, the match ended in another loss, their 5th of the season. Despite this, the team's spirit continued to evolve, showing glimpses of growth even in defeat. The 6th match was against Nagoya, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Gadu was under immense pressure, facing the threat of expulsion alongside Tatsumi if they lost. The problems didn't stop there. The fans were furious and demanding Tatsumi step down immediately. As tensions rose, Gadu tried to address the crowd, but Tatsumi intervened. He managed to calm the situation and resolve the misunderstanding, but the real challenge still lay ahead. Nagoya was a formidable team, featuring a powerful attacking trio, midfielder Carlos, forward Zelberto, and striker Pepe, 3 Brazilian stars led by their coach, Fua. The club's management was relying on Tatsumi to overcome this dangerous opponent. Tsubaki, however, was still weighed down by guilt from previous matches. He couldn't stop overthinking, and his negative mindset was holding him back. Tatsumi confronted him directly. He asked if he wants to okay for the team. Tsubaki hesitated but admitted he needed to focus on himself and rediscover his strengths. Tatsumi encouraged him, saying, "He is not different from anyone else here. These matches are unique, so it's normal to struggle at first. Just focus on being their best self." Determined to prepare, Tatsumi spent the entire night analyzing Nagoya's past matches, determined to find a way to counter their tactics. Meanwhile, Fua was excited about the game, seeing it as an opportunity to settle old scores with Tatsumi. On the day of the match, Tatsumi took a relaxed approach. The players stayed outside, enjoying time with fans and even playing games with them. Only minutes before kickoff, they finally entered the field, bringing their lighthearted energy with them. For the first time, even the prince shares the same desire, revenge against the cunning Fua. The match begins, and the 3 Brazilian players are ready to dominate. With sharp focus and quick passes, their attack breaks through the defense. Pepe manages to sneak ahead, receiving a clever pass, but the offside whistle stops the play. Nagoya's attack line is highly skilled and technically advanced, which makes this match a tough challenge. The key is to prevent their forwards from building strong connections during the game. The ball is with the prince now, launching a counterattack. He quickly passes it, and it reaches Tsubaki, a golden opportunity for him. Before he can capitalize, Carlos fouls him, flipping the momentum back to Nagoya. Carlos disguises his move, cleverly sending the ball to the left wing instead of Pepe. It creates a clear path to the goal, but Kuroda steps in at the last moment and saves the situation. Itagaki, frustrated with Kuroda's solid defense, taunts him. Meanwhile, Hiroshi prepares for a corner kick, but Gadu watches anxiously, worried about a potential opening on the left wing. Itagaki's speed is a real danger, and Pepe's teammates keep trying to find a chance for him. Nagoya attempts another breakthrough, targeting Itagaki's flank, but Kuroda stands firm like a wall, blocking their progress. Houses have doors, and for Kuroda, no one is walking through. Despite their efforts, Itagaki can't get past Kuroda, who defends with sheer determination. The corner kick resumes play, but Hiroshi leaps like a beast and catches the ball, stopping Nagoya's attack once again. Kuroda continues playing an entirely defensive game, never engaging offensively. It's clear Itagaki dreams of outpacing him, mocking Kuroda's simple and clumsy style. However, Kuroda's resilience proves too strong, maintaining solid defense despite the pressure and risks of unnecessary injury. Fua saw a chance to talk to Itagaki, suggesting he play on the left wing, even though it was new to him. Don't think if he can master just one position, Fuwa said, emphasizing that success often comes from mixing in foreign players. Back to the match, Siro was returning to play. Meanwhile, Zelberto spotted an opening and used Itagaki to advance smoothly, getting past Murakoshi. He then lifted the ball toward Pepe, but the pass bounced off Zelberto's back and went out of bounds. It was a fantastic save, especially since Tatsumi had earlier told him to push to the end of the field because Pepe was ready to strike. Tsubaki timed his move well to set up defense against the corner kick, but with just 15 minutes left in the first half, both teams were still locked in a goalless draw. ETU followed their instructions perfectly, patiently setting up their next play. They needed to stop the opponent's attack first, and although the left wing attempt failed, Nagoya's efforts would only grow stronger. Zelberto tried again to shoot, but Tsubaki blocked it, carrying the weight of his team's defense on his shoulders. As the first half ended, it was clear that both teams faced difficult challenges. Nagoya would continue with their usual aggressive style, while ETU stayed focused on their approach. The second half kicked off with excitement and Tatsumi saw a gap to start their counterattack. Itagaki's position offered a perfect chance. By creating empty spaces to lure the opposition in, Tatsumi's tactics worked, building pressure. Tsubaki, now more confident, injected fear and tension into the minds of their opponents, setting the stage for victory. All attempts to break through the defense fail, and the Brazilian trio begins to feel the pressure. Carlos, in particular, is frustrated because he can't get the ball to Pepe, and they've realized that their attack isn't working well. The lack of harmony in their play is obvious as the ball just keeps slipping away from them. So, Carlos decides to push forward more, trying to make something happen. For ETU, this becomes their challenge, to stop Carlos and face the speed and sharpness of Pepe. They also need to keep an eye on Zelberto, the most dangerous player of all, who connects their defense with their attack. With only 25 minutes remaining, a change has to be made. The score is still level and Carlos charges forward, preparing to attack. But instead of taking a shot, he passes the ball to the right, fully aware of Tatsumi's keen ability to anticipate moves. Tatsumi sees it coming and tells Kiyakawa to intercept the pass, which he does perfectly, grabbing the ball and launching a counterattack. The ball is now with Prince Luigi, who moves swiftly toward the goal with Sira and Akasaki in support. Luigi cuts across the defenders and takes a shot, but the goalkeeper saves it. However, the danger isn't over yet. A quick clearance makes way for the legend to shine. With incredible force, Luigi takes another powerful shot that shakes the pitch, finally breaking the tie after a long wait. It was a perfect plan executed by Tatsumi, the Giant Slayer. Meanwhile, on the other side, Itagaki is visibly frustrated. He wonders why Carlos didn't pass him the ball, especially since he was in an open position. With only 15 minutes left, the Brazilian players were determined to score. Carlos passed the ball to Itagaki, who, full of anger, took a desperate shot. The ball rebounded and came back to him, but his second shot almost resulted in a goal if it weren't for Hiroshi's save. Fuwa was getting anxious, knowing they couldn't afford to lose. Another corner kick was taken, and Tsubaki cleared it with excellent skill, showcasing a high level of play. Itagaki was eager to score, and Murakoshi felt the same way. He started a counterattack, passing the ball to Tsubaki. With great individual effort, Tsubaki sensed everything around him: the ball, the field, and the cheering fans. Meanwhile, Carlos decided to take matters into his own hands, slipping past Tsubaki and attacking with confidence. His dribbling was sharp, and despite desperate attempts to stop him, he managed to score a stunning goal. However, Luigi, ever the hero, managed to retrieve the ball from Nagoya's grasp and set up another chance. With only 5 minutes left, the game was tense. Pepe, the elusive player, blocked a shot from the enemy, but it hit the crossbar. The referee blew the final whistle, marking a brutal match and ETU's first victory of the season. Fuwa acknowledged his team's loss and promised a rematch, though deep down, he knew they would be defeated again. The Brazilian players celebrated, and while Tsubaki didn't understand Portuguese, he knew that winning the match deserved great respect. Itagaki was named player of the match, and the coach and director continued their discussions, leaving the matter unresolved for now. After the thrilling match, the club became more popular, and many fans showed up to watch their practice. They have another game tomorrow, so the players worked hard with their new strategies. However, they have no reason to boast since Yuri passed out from exhaustion after all her hard work. It's not a serious problem, but she needs some rest. As the match continued, Prince Luigi was preparing to take a penalty kick. The score was 2-1 in their favor. He made steady progress before suddenly kicking in a third goal. This gave the Prince 2 goals out of 3. With only 10 minutes left, Tatsumi decided to take Sira off the field. Sira wasn't happy about this, so he quickly got a pass and tried to score. He almost succeeded but missed at the last moment. As a striker, Sira knows he must score goals. A fast attack followed, and Kiyakawa passed the ball to Sky. The defense pressured him, but the prince moved into position and received the ball, taking a shot that came very close. The referee blew the whistle, and the match ended with a second win. The next day, Tatsumi stayed up late getting ready for the upcoming matches. One team known for their strong defense fell, and a strange man was found on the field. Tatsumi recognized him. It was Natsuki, who had returned to train with them. Natsuki had only played for half a season due to an injury but had scored most of the team's goals. He was very popular with his teammates. He hadn't been around for a long time, and Tatsumi knew he would bring energy to the team. Natsuki had been out due to a knee injury and couldn't continue playing for the league's top scorer title, but he was a key player for the team. Tatsumi also remembered Fernando, a former Argentine player who didn't do well for the club and had used up a lot of the club's money, while Natsuki was a top player and had scored almost all the team's goals. When Natsuki returned to the field, he was surprised by the coach's coldness. Sira felt worried about his place as the team's striker with Natsuki back, especially after the coach's treatment of him the day before. Was he good enough to keep his spot? Sira tried to boost his confidence. Murakoshi explained that Natsuki kept in touch with the club during his recovery and knew about their training. Natsuki was eager to show what he could do. He asked for a pass, and when he got it, he made an impressive but risky shot. However, Tatsumi didn't see his move and missed the penalty spot, leaving Sira shocked by what happened next. In next match, Sira exhaustion can easily be seen, especially as he moves the ball. His focus is slipping, and he's missing the offside line. His mind is full of dark thoughts. Yokohama's defense is strong, and their playmaker is being closely guarded, making it hard for him to touch the ball. The opposing coach planned for this, blocking Ryu's attacks, but Natsuki's presence is causing them trouble. Unfortunately, the young player's performance is lacking today. Tsubaki is missing too many passes because the team has placed too much hope on him. Natsuki is in his own world, and when he will play seems uncertain. The coach sits down and tells him he won't play today. Instead, he's just there to pressure the opposing coach. But the coach promises he'll prepare Natsuki to show his skill when the right moment comes. Kiyakawa breaks through the defense from the left and tries to pass, but they block it out for a corner kick. The prince then sends in a high ball, and Kuroda makes a move, which Murakoshi catches and scores to break the tie. With time running out, Sira keeps failing to make a successful play. It looks like his time on the field is almost over, and he starts to wonder if he'll be replaced. He's played 8 matches and scored only 1 goal. The team adds a 3rd win to their record, but Tsubaki is called out for review, and Sira blames himself again. Natsuki arrives and interrupts his thinking. What happened has affected his training and confidence. The match finishes, and it's time to choose the lineup for the next game. Sira will continue to play as a striker. It won't be easy since the next opponent is strong, but luckily, Hiroshi is guarding the goal well. A team that suffered moral defeat from being weak and having no chance to attack almost lost their opportunity. However, Luigi kept his focus and helped. The opponent's defense makes Sira rush to get the ball, and he nearly grabs it, but the fans cheer him on to encourage him. As they push forward, Sira is past the ball and has a clear chance to score. He's just 2 steps away, but he gets injured in the process. After being checked, Sira found out that he wouldn't be able to play in the game. He had a joint sprain and needed a week to recover, but luckily, the injury was not severe. Despite this, he still felt frustrated from yesterday's match draw. He sat outside and opened a bag of chips when Natsuki appeared behind him. Sakai then approached and scolded Sira for eating junk food, reminding him to stay strong and that he would score goals. However, Sakai also said that if he were in Sira's position, he would have done the same thing to relax. After all, Sira was a striker, and losing to Natsuki shouldn't make him feel defeated. The ball always finds the player who never gives up. Sira was not playing in today's match, and it ended in a 0-0 draw. Mainly because the opponent communicated very well, and it was still early in the game. After some time, the coach decided to bring Natsuki onto the field. Fans clearly missed him. Natsuki, with no specific role, began moving around playfully on the grass. The match picked up speed with quick passes, and the attacking team reached the opponent's side. Then, Hiroshi scored a sneaky goal. This was not the time to relax as the defense remained solid. A quick change in play led to another attack aimed at Natsuki. Despite the pressure, Natsuki broke through and scored the comeback goal. This was just how he usually played. Sakai and Siro weren't about to give up easily. The battle for the top scorer title heated up, and just as the match ended, the referee blew the whistle. The game concluded in a draw. They usually lose to this team, but maybe this time it was a sign that the team was starting to find its rhythm. However, Tatsumi was not happy. Next, they faced Niigata in heavy rain. Io was losing by a goal, and playing in these conditions felt awkward. The strange part was that the prince wasn't there. They tried a counterattack, but the ball didn't reach Akasaki. He tried to stop the opponent but slipped on the ground, earning a yellow card. Tatsumi looked on coldly. The first half ended, and as soon as they entered the locker room, Akasaki expressed his frustration. He pointed out that their team seemed broken and had been okay with a draw in earlier matches. Kuroda stepped in to stop the argument and reminded everyone to take care of the situation. The room felt tense and childish. Tatsumi watched quietly, thinking deeply. When a team is disturbed like this, it usually means they didn't perform well. On the other hand, when they're satisfied with themselves after a tough match, it shows they were lucky to avoid worse. The lack of team unity was clear, and Tatsumi believed they needed to bond better to improve. He thought that if they worked together, understanding each other's feelings and thoughts, the team could become like one living, breathing entity. After the break, they returned to the field but ended up losing the match. The Osaka coach was upset by ETU's loss. He had hoped that Tatsumi would get the team back on track, and he wanted to face him with everything he had. However, Sonoda interrupted, saying that despite losing, the team showed impressive communication and improvement in the second half. Tatsumi was right, and like Osaka, they decided to focus on team-building training for their match against Osaka. The match footage showed a one-sided game where an attacking line of 4 strikers resulted in an 8-0 score. Tatsumi prepared a counter strategy. When he shared the plan with the players, they were surprised by its simplicity. His plan was to match the 4 strikers with 4 defenders. If it worked, the match would be exciting. The crowd would get pumped, and that would give them the motivation they needed to win against Osaka. The match was about to start, and Osaka arrived first. The 2 strikers, Katayama, were followed by defender Hadake, along with the international players, Shimura, Hiraga, Imai, Kamuro, Dutch playmaker Hauer, and Kubota, the newest striker. The biggest surprise, however, was Coach Blanc's presence at the match. Inside, the 2 coaches stared at each other, trying to figure each other out. Dulfer asked Tatsumi how confident he was today, to which Tatsumi replied with a question about the temperature in his home country of Holland, making it clear he didn't feel any pressure and was ready to give his best. Meanwhile, Akasaki's players prepared with determination, aiming to overwhelm their opponent, Ito. They planned to adjust their style to counter the opponent's tactics, but their team would stick with their attacking style. The crowd cheered wildly as the lineups were announced. ETU's defense remained unchanged, but Natsuki was added as a second striker alongside Sira, likely the result of their recent secret training. After both teams finished warming up, the 2 coaches shook hands, and Dulfer promised to break his rival's arrogant attitude in the next 90 minutes. The game began with Osaka attacking right away. The players were surprised by their formation. Instead of the usual 4 defenders, their positions were different from what they expected. Tsuji kept an eye on Kubota, while Kuroda focused on Hauer. Shimura passed the ball to Hauer, who then sent it to Katayama on the right. Kiyakawa tried to stop him, but chose to pass the ball back to Kubota. Tsuji failed to intercept a long pass to the wing, creating a dangerous situation. Sakai had a chance to score but missed. Tatsumi stayed calm and controlled the situation. Hauer teased Kuroda about his bald head, but the match went on. The prince sent a ball to the wing, where Kuroda tried to reach it but failed. Despite this, it caused anxiety among the defenders. They were under constant attack, with the offensive moves creeping closer. The ball reached Tatsumi, who faced pressure from Kuroda but skillfully cut the ball and passed it to Katayama. Kiyakawa stepped in to stop him, preventing the return pass. The match was getting intense. After the first few minutes, Dulfer decided to ramp up the pressure. He ordered a full attack, sending a connected ball through the middle of the field towards the penalty area. Shimura got to it, but his attempt was blocked, and the ball went out of play. Kubota retrieved it and passed it to Tsubaki, who blocked him. Hauer launched a long throw, but Katayama prepared for a shot. Kiyakawa blocked it, and Hadake took a shot that hit Kiyakawa's head. The match remained intense, with both teams struggling to score. Dulfer noticed a gap in the defense during a ball clearance. The defense had relaxed, and the possession rate was high for ETU, which led to some concentration issues. Suddenly, Katayama positioned himself right in front of Kiyakawa, creating an opening for Tatsumi. He crossed the ball perfectly into the gap, sending it high for a header. The ball flew into the goal at an unstoppable angle, and Osaka scored the first goal in the 17th minute. Akasaki didn't want to clear the ball fully, but slowing down the attack was helpful. For the first time, the prince gave a boost to his teammates. Everyone's attention turned to Tatsumi, wondering what he had planned. Natsuki moved forward, but too aggressively, and the ball was quickly turned over in a counterattack that silenced Murakoshi. The ball then went to Tsubaki but was stopped by the defense. Gino attempted a pass, full of confidence, but the challenge was to take the ball from Hauer, whom he hated. He pushed forward, but the ball went to the equally hated Kubota. The path was clear in front of Kubota, and he executed a high pass. Katayama silently crept up from behind Kuroda, almost stealing the ball away with precision. The defense didn't have the initiative and found themselves in a tricky spot. Kubota, always alert, was the player who recovered the ball. It all depended on Tsuji to figure out how to counter Kubota's moves. Kubota's task was to pass the ball to his teammates, set up the play, and then pass it to the left. Tsuji misread his opponent, not realizing that Kubota wasn't just a playmaker, but a key player who created opportunities. As the first half neared its end, Luigi passed the ball to Tsubaki, a crucial move for the final 10 minutes. Hauer's nerves were showing as he focused on the game. The pressure was building, and the last ball of the first half came into play. Sira took the shot, but the defense cleared it. Murakoshi controlled the ball, though the attempt wasn't completed before the first half ended with a score of 2-0. Immediately, Tsuji approached and criticized his teammate for failing to stop Kubota as if it were an easy task. Tsuji believed that the defense was falling apart, and Hiroshi agreed, saying their defensive line was non-existent. Osaka noticed that Ryu was struggling in the attack due to the prince's poor play, and it was clear they couldn't afford to lose. As halftime came to a close, Tatsumi appeared and noticed Kuroda was upset that the defense strategy had failed. They had allowed a goal, but Tatsumi seemed confident. He even jokingly asked if they were enjoying the match, hinting that a comeback could turn this into a memorable game. He promised them that they only needed one goal, not two, to make the match interesting. They needed to stick to their training and push forward. As the second half started, neither team changed their formation. The ball remained calm until Akasaki made an attack, quickly passed by Hauer. Kuroda tried to stop him, drawing a foul, but he was competitive and got involved in a coordinated full attack. Akasaki kept pushing, and the ball moved toward Kubota, where Tsuji stepped in and showed him it wasn't going to be easy. Tsuji managed a strong pass back to Luigi, and then it was Natsuki's turn to shine. But Akasaki overthought the situation and failed to make a decisive move. Osaka started to feel the frustration as their defense failed, allowing Kubota the chance to move forward. Most of the team had woken up now, but the real problem was Natsuki's performance. Tatsumi, who had previously told Natsuki that he didn't have enough determination to be a striker, was now expecting a show of growth from him. But Natsuki's issue had always been his struggle with passing, especially when he got disappointed by the prince. He was struggling with the balance between focusing on himself versus playing for the team. As the pressure continued, Tatsumi ordered the reserve players to warm up, concerned that Natsuki's rhythm was causing problems. In Tatsumi's mind, Natsuki needed to learn that playing as a team was key. If a striker only thought about himself, it could ruin the game for the whole team. But Natsuki kept wanting the ball for himself. 10 minutes passed, and Osaka's coach promised a third goal. Kubota passed the ball to Hadake, and Murakoshi made his move at the perfect time. Ryu tried to start a counterattack, but it failed, and the ball returned to Kubota. Tsuji, with a mocking laugh, saw the path ahead clear but disappeared for a moment. He came back just in time to stop the ball with a decisive move. Murakoshi showed his speed and looked for revenge. Kubota started to feel that he was just one of the many players on the field. The opponent's defender easily managed to block him. He wasn't fast enough to keep up, and the attack continued through the left wing. Natsuki, reviewing everything he had done and would do, seemed ready. Akasaki encouraged his team as Sira made up his mind to take the shot. Natsuki was determined, but Sira's attempt hit the crossbar. It wasn't over yet. Natsuki made an impact with an unexpected goal, but this wasn't just any goal, it was a statement of defiance. Luigi, ready to say some arrogant words, was interrupted by Akasaki, who acknowledged Natsuki's contribution. With 20 tough minutes left for ETU, Dulfer decided to take Kubota off. Tatsumi's plan to pressure and tire out Kubota had worked, and fatigue was starting to show. Shimura was another threat, planning to attack with fewer players to control any rebound. A risky pass came through the middle, and Hauer jumped to make an attempt. Kuroda barely managed to respond, and the ball slowly rolled toward the goal. At the last moment, Kuroda cleared it, leading to Howard's frustration, and he ended up with a yellow card. Fatigue started to affect Osaka's players, and the prince pushed them hard to run with full force. Kubota would be replaced, and Kiyakawa realized the prince's aura was starting to scare the defense. The prince had been pretending to be weak to trick them. Dulfer, on the edge of anger, realized that ETU's goal was breaking his team's defense. He had kept them running behind the whole time. Akasaki was struggling on the field as the prince showed his usual moves, and with incredible speed, he charged forward. Like a missile, a storm was coming to Akasaki's defense. Then, Hiraga made a big mistake by grabbing the prince's shirt. Tsubaki, don't get too proud. That free kick was only possible because of his stamina and speed. It was a disaster for Osaka. Dulfer made an unexpected decision to pull out Hiraga and Howard, trying to protect their lead. Tatsumi, though, pushed hard on Osaka's pride. Akasaki took the free kick, and Hiraga saw through Luigi's feint, expecting a different shot. But what came was a cunning pass to the open man, and the goal was scored, bringing ETU back into the game. The insult to Osaka was huge. They managed to level the score just before the substitutes came in. Tatsumi switched Akasaki and Tsuji off, exhausting them and sticking to his plan of provoking Dulfer's pride. The two teams made their 3 substitutions, meaning Siro would finish what he started. He was worn out but held onto the ball as the clock ticked down, aiming for a win. There was no plan for a third goal. A quick counterattack came at them. Kuroda covered the wing while Murakoshi fought hard. Akasaki, fearing the prince's attack, was on edge. Natsuki tried to push forward, but it was Sira who took charge. With just 4 minutes left, a broken player knows their own limits, and Sira knew exactly what to do. His speed and focus were clear. Murakoshi controlled the ball, passed it to Tsubaki, who shot but was blocked. The prince gave his all, but the defense was tough. It was a brutal game, but the ball always favors the one who never gives up. A desperate header that couldn't change the outcome. What a match. A final whistle saved Akasaki. It was a historic comeback that crushed Dulfer's arrogance. The match ended in an incredible turnaround, and the results showed that perseverance had won the day. In their next match, Tsubaki makes a great pass to Akasaki, and with a sharp finish, Natsuki scores, a magical move that keeps the team's momentum going. ETU wins their 3rd match in a row, and the good news is that Akasaki gets nominated for national team training, becoming the first player from ETU to make it to the international stage. However, in the next match, Akasaki can't play. Their opponent is tough, but ETU's defense holds strong, even though their opponent's coach takes advantage of their weakness and attacks. Tatsumi, underestimated by his opponent, switches things up and uses a reserve lineup, leading to a goalless draw. But even though the match ended in a draw, Akasaki continues to shine with the national team, showing off his talents. Tatsumi officially steps out of the action for a while. In the following match, ETU crushes Yokohama in a dominant victory, although the prince nearly gets injured in the process. Tatsumi, ever unpredictable, plans a curry party instead of a training session. He brings everyone together, and all the fans join in to celebrate. It's a reminder that football is not just about the players, but the whole club and its supporters. Gato, witnessing this, realizes the truth of his dream. A weak team can overcome a strong one. They've achieved something extraordinary, and now the Giants Club can rise to greatness. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe the channel for more plot-filled recaps.